Today we're going to talk about the top 10 books that you need to read as an entrepreneur. My name is Barayev, and I've built a team of 150 plus sales guys in less than 2.5 years. We did it with an amazing team with zero money invested. And guess what? Now we have a solar company that's growing like crazy, coast to coast, like butter on toast. So I want to talk about the 10 books that changed my life. I want to talk about 10 books that you must read as an entrepreneur, or if you're inspired to be an entrepreneur, because I get messages sometimes, I'm like, what book should I read? Like I got a message this morning, like, you know what? I'm going to make a video for you guys to just tell you my top 10 books. Now, between me and you, I read about 50 to 70 books a year. On average, for the past 3-4 years, I've been reading over 60 books. This year, I already hit 63. My goal is to hit it, 65, 66 by the time, we're shooting this in December. So hopefully I hit my 66 by the time we're done with this year. But I definitely, find the time and energy to read books and listen to books because I know it's important. Now, you may think books are bullshit, books are whatever, and I'll give you a little story about myself. I never really cracked a book open until I was 19 years old. My mentor at 19 years old said, hey, do you read books? I said, books are for losers, right? And that was my response to him. And he looked at me, smirked a little bit, and said, here's a book you need to read if you want to become successful, right? And at that time, what I didn't realize was I was the biggest loser for even saying that, because readers are leaders. And if you want to become successful, you don't have to read, but it definitely puts the odds in your favor because you're able to get mentorship from people that have, that are dead or alive on a freaking book, and they put their thoughts on paper, right? So I remember my first book that I read, it was called 60 Seconds to Success. It was like a sentence and a picture, right? I'll never forget. It was 60 pages, 60 quotes, and that book was my first real book that I actually finished from cover to cover. Because yes, in high school we had to read like, Shakespeare, all this non-stuff. I'll be honest with you, I don't even remember. I didn't read none of that stuff, right? So I just didn't realize that books were like important at the time, but I realized like, wow, at 19 years old when I read these books, I'm like, wow, like these books that I'm gonna talk about with you right now changed my life. I am today who I am today, all because of the books that I've read and the people I hung out with. It's amazing because these books will change your life. So if you have not read these books, or even if you've read these books, read them again. Because I promise you, I reread these books multiple times, and every time I read them, it's like, wow, a punch in the face, and it makes me feel amazing. So let's go over the first book, and I'm going to give you a little bit about the book and what I learned from the book as well, so you have an understanding of why that book is important. Magic of Thinking Big. It taught me how to not create excuses in my life. It was an amazing book. It changed my whole life, because I was growing up my entire life, and I was reading the book, The Magic of Not Thinking, or Thinking Small. I used to think so small, like a pregnant ant. One of my mentors said, stop thinking like a pregnant ant, and stuck me like a ton of bricks. I got to stop thinking small, think bigger. Every time you need to make a decision, you can't make a decision because of your excuses and because you're thinking too small. So that book helped me a lot tremendously by, growing myself and becoming a bigger thinker. Next is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. What a book. What a book. I just read it again the other day. What an incredible book. I mean, if you want to know the real skill sets of how to be, skills of how to become successful and rich and become a better you, oh my God. That book is amazing. Think and Grow Rich, highly recommend, okay? It'll teach you how to think properly. One thing I got out of the book was the sexual transmutation part. I remember, reading that, I'm like, wow, sex is the most powerful freaking emotion in the planet. It's a driving force. I was like, wow, it's amazing. And a lot of people go out there and they don't know how to control themselves. They go spread their love everywhere. And they're literally not using that power of sex to their advantage. And if you want to become successful and you want to learn how to use sex to your advantage, it's not going out there and partying with a bunch of girls and guys. It's about taking that energy and putting it towards business or success or being a better athlete. And if you know how to do sexual transmutation the right way, I promise you, it'll take you a very far place in life. And I did that for 6 months when I read this book. Changed my whole life. So I highly recommend you reading the Think and Grow Rich book, okay? Number 3, The 10X Rule. Amazing book by Grant Cardone. Wow, I thought I was working up until 24 years old. And I'll be honest, I give credit to becoming a millionaire because of Mr. Grant Cardone. When I read his book, The 10X Rule, my whole mentality changed. I was like, wow. I was doing enough action to piss myself off. I was doing enough action to get myself upset about why I'm not getting where I need to go. The second I pissed myself off, I was realizing that I was working at 211 degrees. And we all know that boiling water only happens at 212 degrees. So if you want to piss yourself off, go home, take a pot of water and boil it at 211 degrees and you'll see how mad you'll be. Because it's not going to boil, right? You need it to be at 212. And that book really got me to grind my gears to get my mindset to 350 degrees. And it changed everything for me. So I highly recommend that book. Next, Sell or Be Sold. Amazing book by Grant Cardone again, right? Selling is a natural thing that all of us do on a daily basis. You're selling your friends, they're selling you, you're selling your mom, you're selling your dad, you're selling your boss, you're selling everybody. The question is, are you being sold or are you selling on a daily basis? And you need to understand that you need to sell in order to create success. I don't care if you're a janitor, I don't care if you're a mathematician, you're always selling. If you're a mathematician, you're selling your students on the formulas that they need to remember. And you need to learn how to sell them to listen to you, otherwise the kids are gonna throw you through the roof. Next book, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Classic book, amazing book. I actually learned how to connect with other human beings because I had a difficult time with connecting with myself. And when I learned how to connect with myself, I connect with other people, it was incredible. Like one of the things I'll tell you as an example, I learned how to smile. Like before I didn't smile, I was like, but if you smile, you attach greatness to people. People want to be around people that smile. As an example, it's a great freaking book. Next, Rich Dad Poor Dad, changed my life. I learned how to get myself out of the E quadrant, the S quadrant, and learn how to be a B quadrant and an I quadrant, which we talk about in our company a lot. You don't want to be an employee. You don't want to be a solopreneur, right? If you want to be successful and rich, you got to be a B and an I. Now, this doesn't mean you're a bad person if you're an employee. This doesn't mean anything. It just means that if you want to create massive wealth, you're probably not going to do it as an E. If you want to create massive wealth, you're probably not going to do it as a solopreneur. Nothing wrong with that. But you cannot do it by yourself. You need other people to create that success, and that's why building a big business or investing is the way to ultimately create wealth, okay? And that book helped me a lot with understanding that, with my expenses, what's an asset. I mean, it's an incredible, incredible book. I highly recommend it. Next, Failing Forward. If you told me, Michael, I want you to make this move into business, go out there and hustle, I was afraid of making any steps without knowing exactly what would happen. I was so afraid of making mistakes and failing, it crippled me. That book changed my life because I realized that failing forward is the ultimate way to create success. You have to create failure, not as a whole, but as stepping stones to create success. And that book changed my life. So I recommend, by John Maxwell, you reading Failing Forward. 100%, 100%, okay? Next, The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John Maxwell. Amazing book. Taught me how to lead people. For 5 years straight, I was trying to build teams and it didn't work out for me. From 19 to 24, it just didn't work. Build a team of 5, 10, 15, 20 people, and then lost people. Build a team of 5, 10, 20 people, and then lost people. I'm like, why are people not sticking? Is there something wrong with me? Yes. I needed to learn how to lead people. There was laws of leadership that I did not understand. And when I read that book and I started implementing the laws, wow, it just started to work. And then I went from 5 guys to 20 guys to 50 guys to 100 guys to 150, and that's how you build teams. You need to understand leadership, and that's what John Maxwell talks about in the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, okay? Next, Sam Walton, Made in America. Great book. I remember tearing reading that book because I remember saying to myself, wow, like I can do this. Sam Walton was, coming from a small place in Arkansas, wherever the hell it was, and he just built a magnificent billion-dollar industry, right? Billion-dollar company. Like he was just amazing. And the way that he did things, right? Just the way that he was meticulous about it, like reading that book helped me believe in myself that I could become a billionaire one day. It really gave me belief that I can do it. Because if Sam Walton could do it, I can do it too. I just got to follow the footsteps and the habits and the patterns that they created. And the last book that I recommend is an amazing book that I recommend every single one of you guys. If you have a team member, you have a company, make your team read this book, okay? It's called Principles by Ray Dalio. It's a book like this big. It's like 3 encyclopedias. I mean, that book is an incredible book. Ray Dalio is such a genius in my opinion. It's an incredible, incredible book that's going to teach you so many principles that he lives by and lived by that created this massive, massive, massive company that he built, right? So as you can tell, books changed my life. They're going to change things for your life as well. All you got to do is just buy the freaking book. Don't tell me you don't have the money. Don't tell me you don't have the time. You have the money. You have the time. Don't tell me you can't read. There's audiobook. If you're blind, awesome. There's audiobooks. If you're deaf, you can read it. If you're deaf and blind, I don't know. Figure it out, okay? I have no idea how you're going to do it, but believe me, you're not watching this video if you're deaf and mute. So don't give me an excuse that you cannot read, I don't have time. You have the time. You just choose to do other things with your time. And reading, I guarantee you, read for 1 year straight. Put 1 book a month in your head, and I promise you your life will be 10 times better. I believe in you. I love you. I appreciate you guys. Do me a favor, like and comment on this video. Share this video with someone else that can inspire them to go read and absorb some information and get better in their life. And I'll see you guys in the next video.